Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Daily Drop-In, where the Teach Better team is live every single morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. I have the one and only Becky Thal with me, and our theme this week is remembering some of the best days of 2019 as we were all together for the Teach Better conference. I will say, of all the days this week, this one will be full of some crazy memories and behind-the-scenes stories, so get ready for that. We will, of course, have a brainstorming segment for you. Good news. We have holidays today, and then it is Wednesday, November 10th. So we also have some recommendations for you. We'll be right back. Please go fill up your coffee, and we'll see you here in a few. Good morning, everyone. And Andrea in the comments totally just summed up my feelings, saying good morning to my two faves. That's how I feel. Becky Thal, I'm so excited that you're here. I don't know how to express my love for being on camera with you. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be here. And it dawned on me, I'm like, I have not been live on camera with Teach Better team in quite a while. But it's a little like riding a bike at this point. So, like when you and I hopped on a few minutes before, right? It's like, all right, you ready to do this? Yeah, let's do this.
Absolutely. It really is. And you and I have been live a few times in the past, and I just feel like I need to get this out in the open. Andrea, I know, is in the comments. She's going to back me up. But you are somebody that spending time with makes me feel good. And I was so excited that on Wednesday, November 10th, I've been waiting for this day. I was going to get some feel good Becky Thal time. So I am just kind of geeking out right now. So while I compose myself, because we're going to do a show together, I would love to have you kind of share who you are. I know our network knows you, but we'll just pretend that they're tuning in for the first time.
Yeah, so I'm Becky Thal. I'm one of the, I don't know, what should we call, almost like the OG Teach Better team members.
Seriously, though, I was thinking about this for the Teach Better 2019 reflection. I'm like, oh man, Becky's as OG as they get, I think.
And I am a former educator, fifth grade math and science teacher. I taught for about 15 years and recently just left the classroom and working in the ed tech space and still working with the Teach Better team. So super excited to be here.
Don't want to necessarily spend too much time on this, especially if I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about this on live camera, but Becky, you work for a really, really, really cool ed tech company. Would you be willing to give it a shout out? Because I just really like the program. And so maybe people are familiar.
Yeah, I work with sumdog.com, SUMDOG.com. It's a personalized math and spelling practice platform that works to close the achievement gap for students, and the kids love it. I got involved with it because my own students were using it and they were so enthralled by it, and so I do recommend everybody check it out. They have a great free version of the platform to try it with your students.
I will say I have no idea how the actual program is, but the math one specifically I use all the time with students. So I when you said you were going to go work with that team, I was like, nuh-uh, they real jobs open, sign me up, because my kids always love Sumdog. So
it's
kind of
really motivating for them.
To
give them some love. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
and they're a great group to work with.
Yeah, in the comments here, Lori's like, oh, I love them. See, I'm telling you, people know this company, and it's cool that they're based in Scotland, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yep.
So good. So I know, in addition to Sumdog, you've been on the Teach Better team for some time.
Yep.
You are live quite frequently. So if you've been a part of the Teach Better family, you've come across Becky. There's no way. But it's funny because you joined. Do you know what year you joined?
I joined in 2019. So I was reminiscing. I was taking a walk down memory lane the past couple of days, knowing I was coming on, and I joined in the summer of 2019.
Wait. We just did a whole thing about how you were an OG of Teach Better, but if you joined in 2019, how's that possible? Teach Better was founded in 2015.
I know.
You were joining in 2019.
I think, you know what it is? I was even looking back at pictures, And I should say I wasn't one of the original, but I was kind of like the next generation, let's
You
say. It's
were.
almost like it's almost like a show and we have different series, right? So I was like teach better team the next generation.
I
Um
totally.
because I was looking at pictures from Teach Better 19, which I'm going to post later because it's hard to believe it was 2 years ago because it almost feels like with the pandemic, it's like, the equivalent of 10 dog years. It was
Well,
like,
we have talked about that, Becky. Either it feels like 2019 conference was 10 years ago, or it was last year, or we don't know which one.
well, I look back and I'm like, God, I look so much younger. It was only 2 years ago. But there was a picture of you and Jeff and Chad and Tiffany Ott and Ashley and me. Yeah.
Right.
And,
The
we like have exploded since then.
Oh my gosh, wait, can we talk about the photo you're talking about? I just saw it on Facebook, and I think it's my favorite Teach Better Team photo ever. And you're right, it didn't even have now
Yeah.
the team is so much
Yep.
larger.
And
But
Megan and Andrea, yes. In fact, Andrea just jumped in, and I think Caitlin kind of all joined. Yes, I love that's the picture I love too. And I know that they couldn't be at that conference, but they had started around that time, so they were also kind of part of that next generation, group. But
that
yeah,
is true.
yeah,
Yeah, because Andrew in the comments is saying Becky, Megan, and I came on together. You're
yeah,
right. We did like a hiring that summer, and we got like 3 people. And yeah, I remember Andrea and Megan couldn't come to the conference, but you came to the conference. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense. That's
yeah.
so crazy. There's a lot of memory lane that I want to kind of walk down today. But I can't decide if we should do that now or if we should do the good news story and then get into the brainstorm bank and all that other good stuff. Because Becky, one of the things I'm dying to ask you is about your experience at Teach Better 19, and I think that's going to take us down a rabbit hole. So should we really quickly get
Yes,
holidays and good news
yes,
out of the
I
way?
agree. Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Let's do
so
it.
friends, we'll be right back. We're going to do a good news story, holidays, and then we are taking a dive down memory lane because 2019, crazy year. We'll be right back. All right, friends, we are live for Daily Drop-In. We're headed into some great stories, some recommendations. We have some holidays for you. I do want to give you all an update. If you were here yesterday with us with Allison Epsy, she just texted me and she said, "Good morning, Rae. Love starting my day with you yesterday. Just wanted to give you an update. There was no dog poop in my morning this morning." So that's a good thing. Becky, I don't know if you caught, but Allison was talking about how she was late coming onto the show and had a crazy morning because her son had stepped in dog poop, which is never any fun.
No, no, and it's always on the worst mornings, like the morning where you have to be somewhere or do something. That's when all that stuff happens.
Speaking of dogs, just as a fun fact, Becky, I do love that we have 2 matching dogs. I think that if we got our dogs together, we would struggle to figure out which is which. I
Yeah.
might go home with Cliff, just so you
Down to the white little patch on their
know.
chest.
I
Yeah,
know.
love it.
Yeah, definitely go check out our fun doodle mixes. What is Cliff's?
He is a labradoodle.
Okay, there you go. Wait, so he does have a tail.
He does have a tail.
So that would be the saving grace for us, Becky, if we got the dogs together. My dog has no tail, so I feel like it would be easy to be like, "Show me your butt. Let me see you." It's so good to see so many wonderful people this morning.
Yeah, I'm
Jillian
loving it.
jumped in. Jillian will be joining us for Daily Drop-In here in a few weeks, so I can't wait to have her on the show. That'll be so fun. Becky, there's a lot to celebrate today, one of which is just the fun holidays. Anybody who tunes in a Daily Drop-In, we love to highlight some fun holidays that are going on in the world, whether they're goofy or serious, just kind of allow us to find not only a reason to celebrate every single morning, but also kind of a fun fact that you can always walk into a colleague's classroom or the workroom, or even bring it to your students and kind of have a discussion point for the day. We're all about fostering those relationships. So there's a lot of holidays today. Easy one, Marine Corps birthday. That's going to be a great one. It's also National Vanilla Cupcake Day. Becky, are you a vanilla cupcake girl?
I can be if it's got chocolate frosting. It
Oh,
depends on the frosting.
are you more of a frosting than cupcake person?
It really depends on the combination, Rae.
Oh, wow. So it's a
Yeah.
combo.
It's complicated for me. Yeah, I can go I can I have a complicated relationship with cupcakes. I can eat multiple things and enjoy them. It really depends on the combination.
All right. Well, because this is such a hard hitting topic this morning, if you are listening on your phone or your computer, we'd love to hear you type in the specific combination of cupcake frosting to cupcake cake that you prefer. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
This one is specifically a vanilla cupcake, and I won't lie, Becky. On the image, it gives us like a picture. It looks like it's vanilla frosting, so maybe
Mm.
you wouldn't like this one, but there are sprinkles.
Okay. All right. The sprinkles might do it. A topping could definitely put it over the top. But yeah, if it was vanilla on vanilla, I don't think it would be my go-to.
I will say a few weeks ago, I got cupcakes from a local place here where I just moved, and I have no idea what was in this cupcake besides goodness. But there was a little raspberry on top. I did like the raspberry on the very top. That was
I do like raspberry filling and
yeah.
raspberry, like anything raspberry.
I
So
ate it so fast that the only thing I remember is the raspberry. All right, so go eat a cupcake today. That will give us something fun to be able to share. Make sure if you go eat a cupcake today that you tag us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're posting. It's also Sesame Street Day. Everyone loves a good Sesame
Aw,
Street. National Area Code Day to learn about the area codes and why they matter. Very interesting. I don't know anything about that. That seems like a math or geography kind of like fun.
tie-in. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know much about area codes, but I know that I grew up like judging depending on what area code you had.
Yes.
It was like, oh, I know where you're from, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm
Or
not in that I'm in New Jersey, and it's not that big of a state, and we're already at 3 area codes. And when I was growing up, which was a long time ago, we won't go there. But it was like 1. There was 1 area code. Now we're up to like 3 area codes. Yeah.
I mean, there's at least 6 in my area. Like the cool area I live in is like a 630 area code, and I don't have that one. I'm an 847. So I think I'm cool, but I don't think this community does. Interesting. I also like this one. Forget Me Not. This is a more serious opportunity to be able to discuss this with your students, but this holiday pays tribute to returning soldiers who have endured things that they truly cannot forget. So that's definitely something worth acknowledging. And then
And so
World
important
Science
with
Day for
Veterans Day tomorrow.
yes, exactly. That's coming up right tomorrow. That's
Yep.
absolutely important. Maybe that would be a good segue to be able to talk about that tomorrow's
Yep.
that holiday. The last one is World Science Day for Peace and Development. See how you can make a positive contribution for the promotion of science knowledge in our community. So lots to celebrate as you're eating cupcakes. Explore geography and Veterans Day coming up and World Science Day. I mean, this is endless. I love this.
And I'm seeing a lot of people popping up in the comments with their cupcake combinations, which is now making me hungry. Like I might have to, break down and go get myself a cupcake today.
Is it too early to eat a cupcake? I mean, it's 6:13 Central, 7:13 Eastern AM. Is it too early?
Look, it's got milk and eggs in it. It's practically breakfast.
It's practically breakfast. Seriously, we eat cinnamon rolls. Those are way more calories than a really fluffy little cupcake.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Double vanilla. I really am a vanilla girl. Andrea says I love chocolate. Okay, fine. Chocolate.
Oh,
Um,
I do like the cream cheese frosting.
Oh,
That's good.
anything with cream cheese frosting is good. Joe says no to cupcakes unless you separate the top off. Okay, so he doesn't like frosting. That's the problem.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
seen the people that have a cupcake and they cut it in half like this way to put the bottom on the top so it's like a
Yes,
sandwich?
like a sandwich to have the frosting in the middle.
Yes. Yes. Red velvet and cream cheese. I almost just like started
Yes.
salivating.
Yeah, you're right. Like salivating over yes, red velvet. Agreed, Lorianne. That's a top one too. Or
Have
vanilla and
we
raspberry. Yeah.
have we determined is red velvet and chocolate are different, but red velvet technically is a form of chocolate.
Yes,
Isn't
it
it
is.
true?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, love that. Also, Jillian's reminding us that World Kindness Day is coming up later this week as well.
Yes.
So this is really a week of holiday, friends. There are good things here. We are struggling. Jillian doesn't want everyone to know, especially with Joe's comment. Just to confirm, a cupcake without frosting, that's a muffin. Is it though?
Excellent point.
I'm pretty sure it is, right? She's right.
Well, that is a gray area, but
Can somebody Google what the difference between a
Definition of a
cupcake
muffin is versus a cupcake.
Cupcake and oven. I did have this last night. I had like girls get together virtually, and we did Google like the difference between two words that were very similar. Feels similar. Can somebody take a moment? Don't leave the show. We want you to stay live with us, but like go get another device. Be committed to the assignment. We want you to find the difference between a cupcake and a muffin. Is the difference really just the frosting? I just
No,
thought
I think it probably has to do with the actual ingredients inside, right? I think muffin, I think like it usually contains more things inside.
so.
Not
Like,
that a cupcake couldn't.
yeah, we've been talking about cupcakes that have fruit in it, and muffins have nuts and
True.
fruit in it.
True.
I don't know. This is the hard-hitting topics that
Maybe
we
it's the
get to,
size, although they do make bigger cupcakes now too. So
and they also make teeny tiny muffins.
yeah.
I don't know. This is blowing my mind, Jillian and Joe. We're not happy. You completely derailed the show. Thank you for that. All right, we do have a good news story as well. And Becky, I thought of you because this happened kind of near your neck of the woods. I know you're in New Jersey, but you also are very close to New York City, aren't you?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you saw this, but if you have not seen this, we always talk about how good news stories are good for fostering discussion, but also really good bell ringers for students. Maybe you're going to use it for advisory today. This one's totally a game changer. Definitely easy to use in the classroom, which is why we're highlighting it. I just Googled it. There was a million articles, but this is about the New York City marathon runner that was helped to cross the finish line after
I saw that.
Yeah, so he collapsed just a few meters from the finish line. For those of you who use feet, it was about 650 feet. And he was a 30-year-old man, a 39-year-old man. He had almost completed the New York City Marathon. He was right at that tail end finish line and just collapsed with his body weight, as you all know, and as I well know. Marathons are not an easy feat. And so he was definitely at the tail end of obviously this goal that he had. And a few runners that were around him picked him up, actually 3 runners specifically, and really helped him walk essentially to the end of the finish line. So there's some really great footage out there if you want to start
Yes.
it with some sort of video. But what I loved is that, there were people passing them. Like the people that stopped to help this incredible runner were, if they were trying to meet a certain time, I mean, they were choosing to stop that experience. But they, in the article and throughout many of the news stories, really talked about how finishing is essential. You can't leave somebody behind. And so these 3 runners side by side and then one behind him helped him cross the finish line, which really is just such a fun, feel good story,
It is, and you have to think like they too had to have been exhausted by that point in the race, clearly. So, I think at that point it was just pure adrenaline that gave them the extra boost that they needed to pick this man up. And the footage is phenomenal. It really is. It's just it was I saw that, Sunday night. Obviously it was a big news story around here, so it was great to see.
Well, and what I love about it, Becky, is I mean, any news story that has an article is great. I think video so wonderful. This specifically, it really is a small little clip. I mean, they really were only 650 feet. So even if you watch the whole clip, it wasn't
Yeah.
something that was this really long video that you're bringing to your class that's 38 minutes long. I mean, it's a great feel good starter. So if you're
100%.
looking for something today with students, might be a good option for you.
Yeah.
Becky, we're going to transition here into our brainstorm bank, get into our theme, and then obviously open it up for any questions from our crew. But we'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Daily Drop-In. We are taking an intentional moment to ask all of you, hey, friends, do you need anything? This is our brain break time. We're going to get into our theme of the week, but also don't forget that we are also here to support you in anything you need. Becky, Brad Hughes is in the house just commenting. Is this when we tell him that he was in my dream last night, like we talked about off our show? Or you guys know how it is, right? You have to wake up early in the morning and you're nervous about getting up. And I had a dream, and it looks like, Becky, you're frozen, so I'm hoping you're coming back here in a second. I had a dream that I was late coming onto the show, and Brad Hughes subbed in for me, and I woke up and I was very disappointed that I had missed Daily Drop-In with Becky Thal, and Brad took the show for me, and I was very disappointed. So Brad, I was dreaming about you last night. You were in my nightmare. So I mean that in all the loving way humanly possible, that you were in my nightmare. It still looks like Becky is frozen on my end. So I'm hoping that she pops back in here soon, unless it's on my side. So I'm going to try and pull this up. Nope, looks like she's frozen for all of you as well. So she'll be popping back in, I'm sure, here in a minute. In our brainstorming segment, you guys know that we are not only taking your questions, but also talking about the 2019 conference. And the reason we're doing that is because it was a time back in the day, back in 2019, when a lot of our Teach Better family members got together. And we say a lot, but it wasn't really a lot. It was just a group of members of the Teach Better family. The conference was quite small. It was less than 300 people. We keep it small for a reason. And it looks like Becky's going to pop in here in a second, but I do want to note, for those of you who are interested in not only reminiscing with us, but also joining the Teach Better 2022 conference. This is our second conference where we're going to bring less than 500 family members together to kick off another opportunity for the Teach Better family to get together. We're giving away a ticket. So head over to teachbetter.com/dailydropin, scroll all the way to the bottom and fill out the form, because we'd love to make sure that you get a ticket to this event. Becky, are you ready to reminisce on some good memories?
100%. I've been looking forward to this.
So good. So I have some questions for you, but before we get into so many questions, do you have a favorite memory from Teach Better 2019?
This is going to sound strange because during the actual conference, there was so much going on. So if you asked me to pick one from the actual conference, I don't think I could pick just one.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite memories about the whole experience was honestly when I came back from the conference and we had a fall break the week before, which is part of the reason that I was able to get out to the conference.
Yeah.
And, usually after a break in school, everybody comes back the first day and it's a struggle. It's a struggle for the students. It's a struggle for the teachers. You got to kind of get back into the groove. And I distinctly remember I walked into my building and I was practically skipping. And I was like beaming from ear to ear. And people were like, "What got into you?" And I was like, I just had the most amazing time at the most amazing conference. And so that sticks with me still till this day, because I have never felt that kind of energy before, particularly coming in after a break. And so that's one of the things that I will always treasure from that time.
So fun. It's wonderful how many great memories there are from 2019. And we're going to hopefully either later in the show or even later this week dive into, like, there was incredible sessions. There was incredible opportunities to meet people. But Becky, your role in that conference was also very much behind the scenes. You saw the freakouts, you saw the spills, you saw the muffins, you saw the balloon blowing up experience. I mean, it was like funny because you're right. The team looked very differently at the time. And this was just like such an opportunity. You like ran the show in so many different regards. Can you give us a favorite, like, funny memory from the actual day of events? Like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when the conference is going on. Do you have any like funny, goofy memories?
The funniest part to me, which is still kind of a running joke, I think, among our group is, I always knew that teachers drank a lot of coffee, but I never could have anticipated the vast amounts of coffee that we were going through. And so I just remember and that building that we were in was a great space. But kind of the way it was designed was I was literally like running through the halls with, new urns of coffee, like delivering them to, running pots back and forth. And so it was like, hashtag coffee for days. I mean, it was
Every moment you were either starting in the process or just finishing making pots of coffee.
And I remember Jeff saying, if you could just make sure that the coffee pots are always filled. And I took that assignment, and it's like that TikTok song, like, I understood the assignment. Like, I, I made sure those coffee pots were filled. And so, yeah, that was just because I just had memories. It was like, that's the one thing. If I had to associate one word with Teach Better 19, it was coffee.
Yes. Oh my gosh, wholeheartedly. And we made a joke this year planning for 2022. We were like, who's going to be in charge of coffee? And Jeff and I in unison was Becky Thal.
I'm really good at it.
Oh my God, you were so good at it. But yeah, it's so funny because a lot of people, in our community was like, oh, I'd love to come. I'd love to volunteer. I want to speak. But the ones that say they want to volunteer, I'm like, don't volunteer for anything related to coffee. This is a terrible idea. But yeah, it's just so funny. You joined our team in 2019 over the summer, and it was really wonderful. If you don't mind, I'd love to have you share how you joined. And then I have a very specific question I was waiting to ask you on the show. So I am interested first. Can you tell us a story of how you got on the Teach Better team? Because that's a story in and of itself that's crazy.
It is.
Oh, it looks like she froze on us again. Becky, still with us? Can you hear us? Hopefully she's still there. Oh, we lost her. She'll come back. Okay, here's my memory of it. So Becky will come back here in a second. She froze. But Becky sent an email to Jeff wanting to know something, see if she could help out. And then all of a sudden she became a team member, which was just so funny, via email. And Jeff specifically was going on vacation when she emailed. Oh, it looks like we have her back. Hold on. Wait for it. Drum roll, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. StreamYard is not showing me the love today.
You're totally good. I was thinking you sent Jeff an email when
I did.
you were trying to join the team. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah, I had been following you guys for a little while, loved the energy, loved the vibe. That's what you were going live then. And so I just sent Jeff an email. Yes. And so the funny part of that story was it was in the beginning of July. And I was like, hey, I'd like to connect. I'd like to learn more about what you do, see if there's, a way that I could get involved. And Jeff was like, email me back. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. He said, but, I'm going on vacation. Can I connect with you when I get back from vacation? And, I, having been down this road with, many people before, was like, oh, this is this nice way of just kind of blowing me off, go away. Yeah, sure. I'll connect with you later. And I was like, okay. And, thinking I would never hear from him again. And sure enough, and everybody has since said, and it's the truth because I've experienced this myself, Jeff is a man of his word. So when he got back from vacation, he reached out to me and he goes, let's connect. And we had, kind of our first Zoom meet, and, literally the rest is history. Then I connected with you and Chad, and yeah. And so I was not really on board that long before the conference.
Now that you say that, I vividly remember it because it relates to the question that I wanted to ask you. Do you remember walking into the venue and meeting people for the first time? Because I have a question, but I want to get there in a second. When you arrived at the Teach Better conference, you were obviously essential to helping everything function. You were like the go-to queen of that conference. But what was it like walking in and meeting everyone? Because I mean, this was a new environment for you.
Yeah, and this was definitely before a lot of Zoom, the level, the extent to which we're doing Zooms and Google Meets and things now was not what was going on then.
Right.
So it was, I didn't have nearly as much kind of exposure or FaceTime with you guys. So I was definitely nervous. It was also, to be honest, it was the first time I had ever taken an Uber. So from the airport to the venue. So there was a lot of firsts for me that trip. Yeah. And, I was definitely nervous, but you, Rae, I mean, you just have such a way about you to make everybody feel welcome. So I remember, because this was the night before.
It was Thursday. Yeah. So it was the night before we were setting up, and then we had a networking event, which we will in 2022, friends, again. We had a networking event Thursday night before the conference even started, but we were at the venue setting up before then.
Yeah. And so as soon as I walked in, you ran up to me. You're like, hey, Becky, we had been friends for, 20 years. So that was, but that made me super, feel super at ease. And that networking event, I distinctly remember one of the first people I met there was Jeff Kaplan.
Oh.
And Phil Strunk. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Becky, this was the thing I want to touch on. I I believe that the moment that you and I had, which it could have been my moment that you didn't have, but I had it with you, whether you knew it or not, is going to be the moment that so many people have as we move
Yes.
out of this pandemic, maybe even, if they're able to join us for 2022 conference. Because Becky, when I said hi to you, I vividly remember just saying hi. It was so good to see you. I was so excited to see you. And then later on, whether it was 10 minutes later or hours later, who's to say, I was like, oh crap. I think that was the first time we've ever met, but I acted like we had met 1,000 times before because
No.
you know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
forget that you haven't met someone in person when you've had so much
No,
dialogue.
no, no, it was and you gave me, like, a big bear hug, which was, very, very comforting and
But you know that moment where you're like, oh, it's so
Yes.
good to see somebody. And then after the fact, you're like, oh, I've never met them in person, but this was the first time, but I've ignored that. There's no
No, no, it was well, it was funny because Megan, Hosey and I were recently, talking, and it did do it. I was like, "Wait a minute, we've never actually" we talk like we've met in person. Like, I talked to half of the Teach Better team like I've met them in person, and the fact of the matter is I haven't.
But isn't that the struggle, is trying to remember who you've met in person and who you haven't?
Yeah.
I think that's my constant struggle. Like Brianne Fennel is in the comments right now saying
Yes.
good morning. Guys, I have no idea if I've met you in person. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say yes. Brianne, I don't think we've ever have. I don't know. I don't know. Jillian, I know we haven't because Jillian's in Florida. She's new to the Teach Better family, with COVID,
Yes.
time.
Yep.
Andrea is in the comments. I for sure met Andrea.
And see, I have not.
See, Katie, we for sure met. Okay, Brianna's saying yes, for sure we've met. Oh, she was at Teach Better
I was just
19.
gonna say,
Okay.
I thought she was at Teach Better 19. Yeah.
I just assume I've met everybody, but I don't know. She says
We hung out at the Muppets.
at the muffin. Guys, the
That's great.
muffin. There's been oh my gosh, and I know this because there is a picture of Brianne Fennel at the Teach Better 2019 conference that we use for all of our promotions. So of course she was at Teach Better 19. I use her face all the time on photos. But this is the problem. I don't remember because these are all people that I assume I've met. It's the same with Brianna Shaner. I know I've met her because she was at the Teach Better 2019 conference, behind the scenes. And
She was.
I
Well,
remember
that's the joke with her is she was
that.
like our Uber driver to the networking events because many of us didn't have a car, and Brianna kind of swooped in with her either minivan or SUV because she her and I both have 3 kids apiece, and we were chatting, and she's a doll. So I look forward to seeing her again.
Yes, and one of the photos I remember 2019 with Brianne Shaner in it was she was seated on the floor against the wall with a few people, and I'm like, that essentially sums up the conference because I think it was the middle of the conference, there were sessions going on, and there was just people on the floor, and I'm like, yep, that seems fair. Who else is in here? Okay, so Brad Hughes, I've never met him in person, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Lori, I don't think we've met in person. I maybe. I don't think so. But yeah, I'm sorry, Bree. I do remember you at the conference. It's so funny when you meet people, you just forget that, because I think that's going to be a lot of people's experience when they come to the conference for the first time in 2022 after COVID, that they've met or connected with so many people over the last 2 years that you don't remember if you've actually gotten to interact physically in person. So,
Well, and I'll be honest with you, that was definitely one of my saving graces. Like, when you think about the timing of everything, that conference was so good for my soul at that point in time. It was what I needed at that point in my career. I just needed that kind of boost of support and energy. And so then, who would have known that a couple of months later we'd all be in this lockdown? And so the relationships and the friendships that you formed there definitely carried through, and people are checking on each other during the pandemic. How are things going? How are you? And so it really did form. It was like a lasting, bonding experience that really helped a lot of people get through the pandemic, kind of being part of this family.
absolutely. And if you really look at the timeline, you're right. It was right before everything shut down with COVID. It was November, 8th and 9th. It was this
Mhm.
week 2 years ago. And obviously, we then had the rest of November, December, January, February, and then obviously so much shut down with COVID. So, this was before the Teach Better team really had evolved into what it is now, and who knows what it'll look like 2 years from now. Very different. But Speakers Network launched because of the Teach Better conference. The Ambassador Program launched like 9 months after the Teach Better conference. It's amazing to me that so many things have developed since that one event of people coming together and bonding and, I don't know, just having such valuable experiences. Did you have any moments at the conference that were memorable moments connecting with some speakers that you were connected with, or sitting in a session that you were like, oh my gosh, this was such a wonderful opportunity, a different session that you sat in? Anything like that?
I in between coffee urns, filling coffee urns. Yes, I was trying to pop in and out of different sessions. Tara Martin's session stands out to me. That was a great one. Um, and honestly, just the keynotes from from the Teach Better team. So just I had seen you guys live, but I've never really seen you do your thing. And so to see you and Jeff and Chad up there was just, it blew me away. And then to see and hear Dave Burgess and Adam Welcome do their keynotes was just, this is why I was beaming when I came back to school
Yeah.
after that, because it really was truly, it was inspirational. And the energy in that room, in that main room, was like, it could not be matched. Honestly, it was phenomenal.
Were you a part of the chair fiasco in that room?
I was.
Okay, so yesterday on the Daily Drop-In, I showed like a live video of our friend Tiffany speaking, that we like did some reflection on the keynote she gave. And the keynote that she gave, the one that I showed yesterday, was like beginning of the conference. It was like the first like opening remarks. We had a few hours of like work that we were going to do as a whole group. Tiffany kind of closed out that segment before we all went into sessions. And like, it was like, if you rewatch that video, friends, it was like a Tetris. Like, you're going through all, like, it was really jam packed, obviously pre-COVID. So that was, normal in some regard. But we, even with all those chairs, if you watch the video, it's just like a room of chairs. We still ran out of seats. It was unreal, that the chair fiasco of 2019.
It was almost like you thought it was like somebody had played a bad game of musical chairs and was taking chairs away, because it's like, how do we seem to have enough chairs at one point. And then, yes, I think I was also on the floor at one point watching one of the keynotes.
I will say that was maybe a comforting element. I don't know, but we walked in, the room's filling up, and we were out of chairs. Like, every chair was filled, and yet there was all this like swarm of people still in the main hallway that were coming in for keynotes. And I remember looking at people being like, what's the plan? And Kristen Nan, just as chipper and lovely and amazing as she is, was just like, we're all teachers, we're gonna sit on the floor. And she just popped out on the floor right front and center. And I think from then on, I don't think I sat in a chair. I just committed to being a floor seater the whole time.
Yep. And those, I know you've touched on it before, but those networking events really are, the conference in and of itself is wonderful, but those networking events were so much fun.
Yeah, so tell me about which you liked, because Thursday we were at like that open bar space, really high ceilings. The Friday we were at that bar that had like the bump out glass room. And then wasn't Stack at the same place Thursday was at?
Yes. And so that, I think that first place which was more of like, it almost had like a sports bar kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I did like that, mostly because the waitress there, and there was a lot of us, and she was doing such a phenomenal job and she knew everybody. And so I must have mentioned that I was from Jersey, and she called me Jersey the whole night. She goes, Jersey, do you need another drink?
She was you're right. She like really leaned into the fact, like, crazy educator. I remember this now vividly, because we went back Saturday. We were like, is the same waitress here? We just have to know.
Yeah. And if she's not, can you call her in?
Exactly, because we were only there to see her.
But I remember having like a wonderful conversation with P. Sloan Joseph there. And so it was just, that was just another venue to connect with people, because, when you're in the conference, if you're not in charge of coffee and you're going to different sessions, you're not necessarily in the same sessions as other people that you may want to see or connect with or talk with. So it's just another venue that you can, meet people that you've been wanting to talk to and connect with. And so that's what's kind of nice about that is it's not, you don't
Well,
have
and
to
I
worry about a
I don't know
schedule.
how to I don't know how to emphasize this to our crew. And Becky, I think we need to like get a clip of you saying that and just play it on repeat until, October 14th of 2022 to remind people. It's not like the conference is a thing and then the networking events are optional.
Yeah.
Like this conference is built where the networking events are a part of the conference. We even have our speakers sign contracts that say, yeah, you're going to speak and share your expertise. You're going to do book signings. You're going to be up and down the halls. You're going to be socializing. And you need to be at least one networking event. Like, this is really a core value of us. We want you to be able to sit on the floor front and center with Dave Burgess speaking for an hour as he's pulling out bras out of bags and I mean, oh my gosh, we want you to have that experience, that energizing experience, taking a selfie with him and getting a book signing, and then go have a Sam Adams with them,
Yeah.
that evening. That's what we want. We believe in that. And so, one of the things, Becky, that I know we valued at 2019 that is a huge core value of 2020 is we had one-on-one conversations with every single person there. And that's why we facilitate a small conference. We really want to talk to everybody. Like, we want everybody to not just say hi and do the fun, oh, it's so cool to see you in person, but then just like hang out, like
Yeah.
relax,
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I still have, so if you don't mind, I'm going to bring out some of because I still have some of the props from 2019, right? So this,
How do you still
I
have
don't know.
this? What is
I can't find like, a shirt that my kid needs to wear for school, but I can break out my Teach Better 19 swag bag. There was there's a bunch of stuff in here. There's a bunch of stickers and I have the presentation. Oh, Kevin Butler's presentation was another phenomenal one. And so he gives you a whole takeaway, folder. That was pretty phenomenal. But I have to tell you, so this is going to sound really bizarre, but this pen that was included
it?
in the swag bag is my favorite pen. This thing, I don't know who was in charge of getting these, but these need to be a part of Teach Better 22. I'm telling you that right now.
Done. We have pens coming out of places everywhere. We love our Teach Better pens. I love it. Let's put them in all the swag.
And I'm like actually grabbing a separate stash when I'm out there just so that I have spares. I'm going to be honest.
You're going
And
to start
this,
a movement. Everyone's going to have a handful of pens just
it
in
writes so
like,
nice. It
where'd they
writes so
go?
nice. This was my other favorite piece.
Oh.
So this medal.
Mm-hmm.
If people can see it
Yes.
too well, but on the back it's got our favorite saying engraved, and I
Mm-hmm.
hung this in my classroom, and I have it in my house now because I think it applies. When you think about it, it applies not just to teaching but to everyday life. And so the saying is, "Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today." And that is one thing. Like when I was having a hard day at school, particularly during the pandemic, I would kind of look at this and it was just a nice little reminder, like this is what it's all about. It's not about being perfect. It's just about being better.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And for those of you who might choose to volunteer or submit a proposal, remember that our proposals to hopefully become a speaker open up on March 1st of 2022. So got a few months, but we'll be actually sharing out a bunch of tips and tricks on how to submit your proposal. But when you're accepted as a speaker, you become a featured speaker. Those medals were so fun to be able to hand out to our featured speakers. And I have a feeling those might be back. Just have a feeling. Who's to say?
They're really, I think I got my medal because I was the coffee girl. And so, there was not a separate prize for that. So I was happy to have one of these medals, but they really are, they're a nice added touch and added bonus.
Absolutely. We're going to transition here to a recommendation that we want to share with all of you because it is a Wednesday. And, Wednesdays we always have recommendations. So we'll be right back. All right, Becky, I'm going to destroy my bookshelf over here because originally for our recommendations, we wanted to make sure we recommended the one and only Dave Burgess, Teach Like a Pirate. This is the book that I know did a lot for his career. It allows him to connect with educators all over the world with the work that he does. This book is not only something that's changed educators' lives, all over the world, but I personally love this book. I know you've read it,
It's a
and
great
he
read.
was our Saturday morning keynote for Teach Better 2019, and also is the publisher of so many of the Teach Better team members' books that they've put out since. So we totally want to take a moment to recommend this incredible book. On the flip side, though, there are a lot of books here that are from people that were at Teach Better
Yes.
2019 that we can celebrate. I mean, the Serendipity Journal, this was Allison Epsy, who was on Daily Drop-In yesterday, one of her books. We have Empower Our Girls, which is one of Adam Welcome's book. He was the Friday night keynote that was able to be a part of the Teach Better conference. CJ Reynolds, I remember at the Teach Better conference, he was working on this book. Do you remember? This
Yes.
was in the works.
And I did catch part of his segment as well, which was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, so good. I have a bunch here. There's so many to grab. One, Joshua Stamper was working on this at the conference. Obviously, this one came out very recently, but Joshua Stamper, who's obviously a part of the Teach Better team as well, but wasn't at Teach Better 19. He joined the team almost a year later, but his new book, Aspire to Lead, is one that we can recommend. I mean, there's so many Teach Better.
And there's so many, to your point, that have been developed or in the process of being developed by people that attended the conference. Like they've announced that they're writing books, so they have books, coming out. Carly Spina, I know Kevin Butler's got a book coming out. Like there's a lot of them that have books coming out.
Yes, and Carly Spina's book, I think that comes out tomorrow on the 11th. Oh, I feel like it is. If it's not tomorrow, then it's super soon. Carly Spina's book is going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
And Kevin Butler, I cannot wait to see what book oh my gosh, I cannot. That's going to be phenomenal. Also, Shelley Burgess, we very rarely talk about. Shelley and Dave were there.
Yes.
So Shelley Burgess did a number of sessions at the event. So Lead Like a Pirate, if you're not familiar with Shelley's work, you are missing out on a huge part of that crew.
I caught some of her segment as well, her session, and it was great.
So good. And then I know we don't talk about our own books very often, guys, and there's so many books that you can go consume. But it's funny, Becky, I was thinking about the Teach Better book. The Teach Better book that Jeff, Chad, Tiffany, and I put together came out September 25th of that year. So it was just 2 months later that the conference was. So this book is a little over 2 years old, obviously.
I finished reading it on the plane to Akron.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. So that had just come out. So when people were at the conference, they either had just read it or hadn't picked it up yet. So that was kind of a fun one to be able to highlight. But I'm now sitting with 1,000 books in my lap, but just fun to be able to highlight people that were there. And, I can only imagine, I'm a little intimidated by the bookstore that's going to be there this coming year.
Oh my God. I think you're going to need, I remember there was one, long section, almost 2 tables, but you're definitely going to need more. Dan, the Zen teacher, was there. Jeff Kubiak was there with his One Drop of Kindness book. I remember buying that and giving it to my daughter's teacher, especially because World Kindness Day, which is coming up, was following. So that was a nice tie-in.
Well, and yeah, we had a long strip of books. The bookstore will look very different for 2022, but that's because we want to make sure we offer people, as much as we can. And how cool is it to be able to get books in people's hands? So I'm done destroying my bookshelf, but plenty of books to recommend. I know some of those books we've recommended on the show before, but specifically shout out to the Burgess team. Shelley and Dave are not only phenomenal publishers. We love the Burgess crew. They've published both of my books, but also just the opportunity to kind of have those two incredible educators sharing their voice. So definitely go check out the work that they do individually as educators as well, because they were phenomenal to be able to have at the conference. But so fun. Becky, we are going to wrap up the show here for our morning. It's so fun to be able to reminisce with you. Would you mind sharing kind of one final food for thought, whether it be a memory or something you want people to consider, kind of maybe a lesson you took from 2019 that you want people to carry with them?
Yeah, I think if you are considering, going to the conference, but you're a little on the fence and you're not sure, for a variety of reasons if you'll be able to attend, I think it's one of those things. First of all, you're not going to regret it. I mean, a lot of people, I had admittedly not been to a lot of conferences prior to the Teach Better conference, but even people who had been to a lot of conferences before said it was one of the best conferences they had ever been to. And I can see that because I'm kind of like, I don't know how any other conference could really top this. And that was one of the last ones, honestly, before the lockdown too, which is,
Mhm.
I guess if you had to have one to end, before everything shut down, that was a good note to end on. But I think it's one of those things. It's how should I phrase this? You don't know how bad you need it until you've attended and realized, like, wow, I really needed that. Like, I thought I needed it, or I suspected, like, maybe it would be good to go to, but you don't really realize the impact of it or how much you needed the connections and the energy and the inspiration until after the fact.
I love that. Oh, so good. And we all need it right now. So as a reminder, we are giving away a free registration ticket. So head over to teachbetter.com/daily drop-in, scroll all the way to the bottom and make sure you apply and also take advantage of our early bird registration, which is available right now, $100 off. Please take advantage of that, friends. We really don't believe in paying full price ever. If I can get you a discount, that's my jam. So definitely make sure you take advantage of that as that continues to be open for a few more months. We are going to head out here, but Becky, I love you to death. It was so fun to be able to spend my morning with you. So thank you for popping onto the show. I appreciate
Same
it.
here, and I really look forward to meeting all the people in the comments who I've not, met prior to this. I really look forward to meeting everybody in person and giving bear hugs to everybody.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. Thanks, friends. We will see you tomorrow bright and early for Daily Drop-In as Dr. Neil Gupta joins us. He was not at 2019 conference, but surely followed the hashtag as he was maybe having a little bit of FOMO. So that'll be kind of fun to be able to dive into. So enjoy your last sips of coffee. You're headed into the best Wednesday ever. Please go enjoy it and go eat a
Take care,
cupcake.
friends.
Yeah, bye, friends.
So right now, I want to know if you're ready to teach better.
That's the whole mission of this weekend.
Just being here ready to learn and